Hey everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be looking into a pretty tragic side of the music world.
Yeah.
The deaths of 10 dancehall artists. And it's all by gun violence.
Mm-hmm.
We've got articles from the past few years, and it's kind of crazy because they show us not just individual tragedies, but also like a possible connection between the music itself and this really dangerous lifestyle.
It is interesting, like you said, it's not just these one-off events. We're seeing, like like you said, a pattern.
Exactly.
That we're trying to kind of put together with all these articles so we can see more about the lives of these artists and their music and what happened.
Totally. And so that is exactly our goal today. To understand what led to these 10 artists' deaths. Was it just random violence? Or is there a deeper link between dancehall music and crime?
Right.
And just to give you a taste of what we're dealing with here, one artist was actually killed protecting his daughter, and another was shot over 20 times by people pretending to be police.
That's awful.
So this isn't just about music here.
No.
It's about lives cut way too short.
It makes you think about like the bigger picture, right? Like, were these artists targeted because they were in the spotlight, or were they victims of circumstance? Like, were they caught in the crossfire of something much larger?
Totally.
Yeah.
All right, so let's just dive right into these individual cases.
Okay.
So we'll start with Omar Thompson, but he was known as Assailant. He was a former member of Bounty Killers Alliance music group, and he was shot and killed in Los Angeles in July 2022.
Wow.
So picture this. He's outside a house party when someone opens fire, and there's even security footage of cars speeding away from the scene.
Really?
Yeah.
What's interesting about Assailant is that he was actually a songwriter,
Oh, wow.
even ghostwriting for Shaggy.
Wow.
Yeah. And in fact, their collaboration Party Up was released just weeks before he died.
Oh, wow. That's eerie.
Where the energy there? Where the energy there? Give me the energy there. Yeah. Stepping on the party, or so me started.
It makes you think, even behind the scenes, things can happen in the music industry.
For sure. For sure. All right. So next we have Kevin Hill.
Yeah.
He went by the stage name Cashmore, and he was shot in September 2021 while hanging out with friends in Salt River, Clarendon. And this just seemed so random. Like, two gunmen just walked up and started shooting.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay, so this next case is really eerie.
Okay.
Stephanie Williams, known as Medic, she disappeared in August 2023. Wow. Supposedly on her way to film a music video.
Okay.
And tragically, months later, they discover her remains in a cane field.
Oh, no.
She had been shot, and it's just this haunting reminder of the dangers out there. And sometimes even exploitation lurking within the industry, especially for these young artists.
And what's really sad is that, Medic was more than just a musician. She was like an entrepreneur, too.
Oh, wow.
Promoting this healthy lifestyle with her own line of holistic products.
Really?
Yeah. So her death, it's just a real loss. She had so much talent.
Right. All right. And the violence doesn't stop there.
Oh, no.
So Don Brent,
Okay.
rising star, murdered at his home in Montego Bay in May 2024.
Wow.
And get this, people pretending to be police, barging into his house and shoot him over 20 times.
That's crazy.
It's chilling.
It really is.
How brazen can you get?
And it highlights that tactic, right, of impersonating someone, an authority figure,
Right.
to try to gain someone's trust. This really shows a level of premeditation and, just complete disregard for human life.
Right. So Keisha, whose real name was Keisha Brown,
Okay.
another tragic case, she was shot and killed in July 2019 after an altercation
Wow.
with someone who had a licensed firearm.
The Old Harbor police report that during the dispute, she threw several stones into the licensed firearm holder's car before stabbing him several times. It's also reported that the man discharged one round from his firearm, which hit her in the upper body. The entertainer reportedly died while undergoing treatment at hospital. Keshan, whose real name is Keisha Brown, was known for songs such as Bubble Your Body and The Goods, which she recorded with incarcerated dancehall artist Vibes Cartel.
Yeah, her case brings up a lot of complicated issues.
Yeah.
Domestic violence, which we know is often unreported. And, it also highlights the dangers of what happens when you mix personal conflicts with firearms.
Right.
It can have devastating consequences.
Absolutely. All right, next up we have Donovan McMurray.
Okay.
known as Unicorn.
Mm-hmm.
He was found dead in Kingston in November 2017, shot multiple times.
Wow.
One of his popular songs was Think About Me featuring Macca Diamond. So this next story really hit me hard. Anil Edwards, a member of that well-known dancehall trio Voicemail,
Yeah.
was shot at his own home in May 2010.
Wow.
Other artists even held vigils, hoping that he would recover,
Yeah.
but he passed away a few weeks later.
What's so sad about his case is he wasn't known for, like,
Right.
violent lyrics.
Mm.
In fact, his peers considered him like a positive influence in the music industry. So it seems like violence kind of found him, even though he wasn't immersed in the,
Yeah.
darker aspects of dancehall culture.
It just shows you that even those who try to stay away from trouble can become victims.
Right.
Yeah. So on that note, we have Jahan Jah,
Mm-hmm.
killed in July 2019 while trying to protect his daughter after she was assaulted. It just breaks your heart.
Right.
Campbell was a father, an artist, and even someone who actively advocated against violence.
Right.
He even organized an anti-violence concert
Oh.
years earlier.
Really?
It's just tragic.
That is tragic.
It shows you that even with the best intentions, you can still end up in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
Okay, so France Morris, who performed as Unknown Gringo, another artist whose life was cut short. He was shot and killed in March 2023 while sitting in his car.
Jeez.
He was known for hits like Tank Up and Brawling Death,
Huh.
titles that unfortunately reflect the harsh reality he faced.
Me ask father got to show me a sign. The world cold, so me travel with me nine. Me paranoid, me not trust mankind.
It is kind of ironic, isn't it?
Yeah.
That an artist who, tried to conceal his identity to create this sense of mystery
Yeah.
met his end in such a public and violent way.
Yeah.
His death, like so many others, happened against this backdrop of rising crime. It's a
Right.
big problem.
And the last artist on our list is Swain Hall, better known as Choppa Banks.
Mm-hmm.
He was killed in May 2022 during a shootout with police.
Oh, wow. So his death actually adds like another layer to this whole discussion
Mm-hmm.
because it reminds us that some artists might be actively involved in criminal activity, and it can really blur the lines between their music persona and their real life actions.
It really does.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay, so that's a lot to process, isn't it?
it is.
10 stories,
Yeah.
10 lives cut short,
Mm-hmm.
so much potential just lost.
So much potential lost. Yeah.
So, looking at all these cases as a whole,
Right.
are there any patterns that we can see?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Definitely, like, geography is one thing that stands out to me.
Okay.
A lot of these killings happened in very specific areas: Clarendon, Montego Bay, Kingston.
Right.
These are known areas for high crime and gang activity in Jamaica.
It makes you realize that the problem is bigger than just music. It's really deeply rooted in these societal problems that these artists were caught up in.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is. And, it also makes you wonder, did their music in any way reflect or contribute to the violence?
Right.
Because, some of them, like Kashmar
Yeah.
and Unknown Gringo,
Mm-hmm.
had songs that seemed to glorify that gun-heavy lifestyle.
They did. It's a complicated question, though, isn't it? Like, does art imitate life, or is it the other way around?
Right.
There's no easy answers.
No. So let's dig into that a bit more.
Okay.
The big question here, does dancehall music glorify or incite criminal activity?
Right.
What's your take on this?
Well, I think it's important to remember that dancehall, like any genre of music, is diverse.
Okay.
There are artists who use their music to talk about social issues,
Right.
to promote positivity and uplift their communities.
That's a good point.
And
we don't really have a lot of insight into the lyrics of most of these artists.
I don't.
Beyond a few song titles, but even those titles like Brawling Death or Choppa Lifestyle
Yeah.
hint at that, that certain level of glorification of violence.
You're right. And those themes, unfortunately, they can resonate with certain people,
Yes.
especially those exposed to violence regularly.
Right.
And it creates this kind of feedback loop,
Yeah.
Art reflects reality, and then that reflection might in turn influence some listeners' actions.
It's tricky because we also have to consider freedom of expression right.
We do.
Artists have the right to express themselves.
Right.
Even if their message is controversial
Exactly.
or makes people uncomfortable.
Right.
But where do we draw the line
Right.
between artistic expression and, potentially inciting harm?
Yeah. It's a debate that's always going on,
Yeah.
especially when art intersects with real-world consequences.
Right.
But we can't oversimplify things.
Right.
We can't just blame the music.
No.
These deaths point to a much larger issue.
Yeah.
The normalization of violence,
Right.
easy access to firearms,
Mm-hmm.
and the lack of opportunity,
Right.
especially in marginalized communities.
Yeah, you're right. It's a web of factors.
It is.
And, if we look at artists like Medic, who is also an entrepreneur promoting healthy living,
Yeah.
or Anil Edwards, known for his positive contributions to the music industry,
Right.
their deaths show that violence can touch even those
Exactly.
who seem to be trying to make a positive impact.
It really reinforces the idea that these artists were working within a system
Right.
that was full of challenges.
Yeah.
And their music might have reflected those challenges, but it's important to avoid oversimplifying things and placing the blame solely on the art form.
It's like those nature documentaries where you see a pride of lions hunting a zebra,
Right.
It's brutal to watch.
It is.
But it's part of their survival.
Right.
You can't blame the lion for needing to eat.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Right. So similarly, dancehall can be seen as a reflection of the environment it comes from.
Right.
It can be raw, sometimes violent,
Yeah,
but it's a product of its surroundings.
it is.
And it's a reminder that we can't just focus on the symptoms.
Exactly.
We need to address the root causes.
The root clauses, yeah.
So much more than just, the tragic deaths of these artists.
It has.
It's really started a conversation about social issues, artistic expression, and this complex relationship between violence and a culture that's often romanticized for its music and carefree vibes. So, okay, we've looked at these individual cases.
Yeah.
We've explored some possible patterns,
Right.
and we've talked about the connection between dancehall and crime.
Yeah.
What would you say is the main takeaway for our listener today?
I think it's that these deaths weren't just isolated incidents. They highlight this desperate need for social change, for addressing the root causes of violence
Right.
that plague these communities. It's about creating opportunities, tackling poverty, and changing those mindsets that glorify gun culture.
And it's about remembering that behind every stage name, every catchy lyric,
It's a sobering thought.
it is.
It really is.
We've covered a lot of heavy stuff today.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, I want to leave you with something to think about.
Okay.
If these 10 artists were still alive today, what would their music sound like?
Oh, wow.
Would they be using their platform to speak out, against all this violence, call for peace? Or would their lyrics still be reflecting all this violence that surrounded them?
That is a really powerful thought, just imagining them using their platform to really inspire change.
Right.
Maybe their music would evolved, maybe reflecting a deeper understanding of the impact of violence and a real longing for something better.
Yeah, perhaps we'd hear songs about resilience,
Yeah.
about hope in the face of hardship,
Yeah.
about breaking free from this cycle of violence.
Imagine them all collaborating on
Yeah.
a song about unity.
Wow.
Really urging people to, put the guns down, choose a different path.
Right.
Think about the impact that would have,
Yeah.
especially coming from artists who experienced it firsthand.
It's a reminder that music can be a powerful force for good,
Absolutely.
a catalyst for healing and transformation.
It can be.
But even as we consider that potential,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to ignore the fact that some of these artists,
Yeah.
through their lyrics and even their lives, seem to be really intertwined with that criminal world.
That's true, and it raises some tough questions.
Yeah.
Like, how much does the music
Me ask father that be show me a sign. The world cold, so me travel with me nine. Me paranoid, me not trust mankind.
reality, or does it actually fuel that cycle of crime?
It's tough. It's a complex issue.
It is.
On one hand, you have artists like Kashmir, whose song Choppa Lifestyle
Right.
seemed to embrace that very violence that ultimately took his life.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Choppa Banks, who died in a shootout with the police,
Yeah.
really blurring the line between his stage persona and his real-life actions.
It makes it really difficult to just dismiss the idea that some dancehall music,
Yeah.
normalizes and even celebrates criminal activity. It's not just about reflecting reality. It's about presenting a certain lifestyle
Right.
as something that's desirable, even glamorous.
And that's where the danger lies, right?
Right.
For young people
Especially for young.
who are looking for role models,
Absolutely.
that message can be so influential.
Incredibly influential, yeah.
Yeah, it can create like a distorted view of the world where violence is seen as a path to power and respect,
Right.
and the consequences are ignored.
Totally.
So where does that leave us?
Yeah.
If dancehall music is both a reflection of and a contributor to a culture of violence.
Right.
What can we do?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
It's a really complicated issue, and it needs a really multifaceted approach.
Yeah.
You know, addressing poverty, lack of opportunity, and easy access to firearms are really important steps. But we also need to be honest
Right.
about the messages that are coming through the music.
We do. It's about challenging that glorification of violence, promoting positive alternatives, and supporting those artists who are really using their voices
Right.
to uplift and inspire.
Exactly. And it's about encouraging listeners, especially young listeners, to be critical thinkers, to question what they're hearing and seeing,
Right.
and to realize that there's a difference between entertainment and reality.
It's a reminder that music, while it's so powerful,
It is.
shouldn't be taken at face value.
Right.
It's part of a bigger picture.
Yeah.
And understanding that is so crucial to having a meaningful and informed experience.
Absolutely. We can't just passively consume.
No.
We need to really engage, critically ask questions, and consider, you know, the impact of the art that we're choosing to support.
So this has really been a journey
It has.
into a dark and complex corner of the music world.
For sure.
We've explored the tragic loss of 10 talented artists, grappled with this link between music and crime,
Yeah.
and confronted some really uncomfortable truths about the culture that surrounds dancehall.
Absolutely. But amidst all the sadness and reflection, I think there's also a little bit of hope.
I agree.
You know, hope that these conversations will actually lead to positive change,
Right.
that the music can evolve to become a force for peace and unity,
Yeah.
and that future generations of artists will use their voices to build a brighter future.
And that's a powerful thought to leave you with. Remember, this is just the beginning. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going.
Keep the conversation going.
Thanks for joining us.
Until next time, stay curious.